Hi, welcome to Diana's Diary Room. I gotta tell you, it's really hard to make one of these sessions because these people flip-flop so much that you can't keep up, and by the time you made the video, something's changed in this house, and it's really hard to explain crazy to people who are not watching the feeds. Alright, so let's go with this. Boogie comes up to Janelle and makes, or not Janelle, sorry. The word Janelle comes out of everybody's mouth so much in this show that it's just now naturally happening to me. Boogie approaches Brittany in the arcade about backdooring Joe. And then, Frank's in there too, and then he says, got a crazy idea here, let me throw this one at you. What about Janelle? Brittany's eyes light up. Yes, yes, go pitch Janelle. You stand a better chance. She goes up and pitches. He goes up with Frank, pitches. Let's get Janelle out. Danielle is sitting there going, She loves the idea because she hates Janelle. Now let's back up the train for a while here. Let's go all the way back to week one. Week one, before Willie went off the rails, Brittany was upstairs paranoid about Janelle being in an alliance with Kara, Danielle, and Dan, which she wasn't. And that's the reason Janelle wants to vote out Frank, is because she's secretly trying to save Kara, even though Janelle said over and over again, we got to get out Frank. So she's paranoid about this, making up crap to Willie, and Willie's believing it. And then she tells Willie about the coaches entering the game, and that happened before the house meeting, and it happened before the fight. The Brittany fascination with making up things that Janelle supposedly did started before Janelle's team left Brittany's team. When Willie had the house meeting, when the Fruit Loops fight went down, Janelle's team went and made a deal with Frank against Janelle's better judgment and said she didn't like it, but they decided they knew what was better. They went. She went with her team because what was she supposed to do? Okay, so now we fast forward through 4 weeks of Janelle, who has done a fraction, a mere fraction of what these people are saying she's done. Brittany says something and attributes everything to Janelle. Will says stuff and attributes it to Janelle. Brittany and Will get together. Brittany and Danielle get together. It is this Janelle lies about everything. At this point, you can't really blame Boogie because all he's hearing are Janelle said this about you, Janelle. Now, Janelle has talked about Boogie. Let's not make this, Janelle talks about the other side of the house. Janelle is always an alliance person, and she stays true to her alliance. Boogie has never been really in her alliance, even though she wanted him to be as a coach, as when the coaches entered the game. But she's always made it pretty clear that Boogie is not on her side. But she doesn't make up lies about him. She just says, this is what he'll do. This is what I think of him. This is what's going to happen. And she calls Frank an ogre. She's not perfect. She's not a perfect human being. She says she does bash people on the other side of the house. She's always done that. This is not new. This is Big Brother. Everybody bashes the other side. That's normal. The problem with this house is there are so many freaking alliances, nobody trusts anybody, that everything gets worked around. Ashley plays both sides of the house. You have one conversation with her, and then she goes and repeats half of what you said with a twist to somebody else. Same thing happens with Danielle. Same thing happens with Will. Same thing happens with Brittany. These four are the ones that go between and cause these things to happen. And it's been going on since the beginning of the season. And Janelle has always been the person they attribute their lies to, okay? So, when you're watching a football game, it's always more enjoyable for me to watch a game and have a team to root for. In this season of Big Brother, there is really no team to root for because the alliances change so fast. There's no loyalty, and it's confusing. Okay, now we're going to get up to it. Boogie pitches the idea to Danielle, to Dan, to Shane. Dan is fighting it tooth and nail. He's trying so hard not to go along with this thing. And right up until he even gets them, they agree to do it, and then he gets them to switch their minds back. They're not going to do it. They're going to keep Frank on the block. They're not going to backdoor Janelle. And then Boogie's up there making yet another pitch, and Dan's not buying it, and Brittany decides that she and Janelle should go upstairs and have a coaches meeting. At which point, Boogie is being very blunt and honest because he thinks Janelle has said all these things about that she hasn't said. And he says, you know, you need to stop lying about me. And she says, what lies? Because she doesn't know what lies he's talking about. And he says, I'm not playing your game. I'm not going to bury people. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just saying, as a person, you know, we have some kind of just stop creating lies. Again, Janelle's like, what lies? Because she doesn't know what's happening. The meeting happens. Everybody thinks, yeah, that was pretty good. Boogie has made up his mind. He's not leaving Frank, and that's it. Everybody on Twitter's like, okay, Janelle's safe. And then, to pretty much everybody's shock, Janelle leaves the room, and Dan looks at Boogie and goes, are you ready to roll? What? What? And Dan thinks that Janelle lied because she didn't cop to any of the lies in front of Boogie. The lies she didn't know about. She has no idea what they're talking about. So then Brittany comes up and Dan says, what's your gut feeling? She says, I think he was being really honest. Well, he was being honest, and so was she. Boogie and Janelle were both being completely honest. They just didn't know that Brittany and Danielle and Will have made up all these lies that aren't true. So Janelle comes off in their mind as looking like the person who is creating all these lies. Okay, so Dan totally flips, and they decide to put up Janelle, which they did. Today, Danielle backdoored Janelle, and Janelle's like, huh? I'm confused. Janelle is still walking around the house, kind of like, why would she put me up? I don't understand. Because Janelle was never going after Danielle. She was never going after Brittany. She wasn't going after Boogie. She was not going after Dan. The only person Janelle has wanted out from the beginning of this game is Frank. That's it. That's all. Frank. So Janelle is trying to garner votes. Everybody's lying to her. Everybody's talking about her. It is insanity. Okay, so she's not throwing a fit. She's not being angry. She's smiling. She's talking nice to people. You know, she's doing it classy. She goes up to the HOH to talk to Danielle. This was priceless, people. She is as sweet as humanly possible. I don't know how anybody could do what she did today. And she said, well, if I leave, she's putting on makeup with Danielle, who just put her on the block, backdoored her, without giving her a chance to A, defend herself, or B, play in the POV. And she's like, okay, I think people got in your head, and do you really want me to go home? Danielle's, no, I don't want you to go home. I just believe these people. Danielle is spewing one lie after another, and then Janelle's like, well, if I do go home, I'll give you my dresses so that you can wear them for the rest of the season. You're a really sweet girl. And okay, so Janelle leaves the HOH, and then Brittany comes up. And Danielle starts to tell the story, and she says, Janelle was raging at me. She was very confrontational. She was this, she was, and just goes into this tirade of what Janelle supposedly said, none of which really happened, or if she did say it, she said it in a completely different way. And Danielle reverses absolutely everything. I mean, totally. Now, picture this if you're an intelligent human being. If Janelle is upstairs raging about you, raging to you, being accusatory, why are you letting her put on your eye makeup? I mean, I've never been in the middle of a fight and decided to do my eye makeup. Never. Ever. Janelle comes down wearing Danielle's eye makeup. But according to Danielle, Janelle was fighting with her, raging, screaming at her. Huh? Nobody in the house puts this together, of course, because Janelle is the house scapegoat. Danielle proceeds to tell this story to absolutely everybody. And Dan keeps saying, I just don't get it. She never played that way before. I don't understand. She never played that way before. Dan believes the lies. So do you want to be mad at Dan? Sorta, yeah. But except for the fact that he's being told by everybody in the house 24/7 that Janelle is the person making these lies up. 24/7. Now imagine not having the feeds and being in a house where Janelle is the only name that comes up. So I kind of got to give it to Dan and Boogie that it's not their fault. I mean, really, Boogie, for as much as a scumbagger as he is, as far as, you know, making promises and then going back and getting out his own alliance members and laughing about it in the DR, he doesn't know that these are all lies. Dan doesn't know that. I mean, Dan knows that some of them are lies, because come on, Dan, you're the one that sent her up to talk to Danielle about the floaters the other day. You know that she went up only because you told her to. She didn't go up on her own. She didn't even want to go up. You pressed for it. So Dan has to know some of them are lies, but he just, you know, I think being in a house 24/7 with somebody who's being blamed for absolutely everything kind of wears on you after a while. I mean, either the entire house is lying or she's lying. I mean, logic dictates this. I mean, I wish Dan could put 2 and 2 together, that Danielle and Brittany are doing this, but it's just not going to happen because they completely back up each other's stories constantly. Janelle can't do anything in that house. She was eating a bag of chips, and Brittany comes downstairs, and Janelle says hi. They talk for a second, briefly, and Janelle's eating chips, and then she goes upstairs, Brittany, and says she's acting aloof now. Is it possible to act aloof while you're eating a bag of chips? I didn't know that was possible. But okay. So Janelle's going to leave the house on Thursday. There's just no saving her. Nobody's going to vote. It's probably going to be a unanimous vote to evict Janelle on Thursday. And then all craziness is going to break out. Okay, so let's go over all of the different alliances that are in the house this week. We can't even begin to cover the ones from the entire year because it's too confusing week by week to cover them. There is the alliance of Danielle. It's the Quack Alliance, some stupid thing like that. Danielle, Dan, Shane, Brittany, Ian. Then there's the Tits Alliance. I think that's Shane, or Joe, Ashley, Jen, Will. And then there is the Joe, Ashley, Jen, Ian Alliance. And then there's the Boogie, Frank, Ian Alliance. The only person not in an alliance in this house is Janelle. She's the only one. She doesn't have any alliance whatsoever. She thought she had an alliance with Brittany, Shane, Dan, and Danny, but apparently she doesn't. So I think there's at least 5 alliances. There's the Avengers, Tits, Quack, and a couple that aren't named. And then there's sub-alliances within all of those alliances, because Joe doesn't know it, but in his alliance, he's not really in any alliance at all. They just go, And then Ian doesn't know that he's not a member of the Avengers, but he is a member of the Quack Alliance. Boogie and Frank don't know that Ian's a member of the Quack Alliance. I mean, it's just really funny. These people are all over the place. There's not one solid, true alliance in that house. Danielle and Shane are whispering to each other about Dan, and Dan not being loyal. And then there's Brittany, who is trying to get Danielle over to her and trying to break up Shane and Danielle. And then there's Dan and Danielle. It's insanity in that house. Crazy. Now, the delusions of Danielle and the stupidity of Shane mixed together. You just can't you can't make up the stuff they say to each other. Shane to Danielle, I wonder how planes know where they're supposed to go. Not kidding you, he said that. He said that. Okay, and then Shane keeps offering to put himself on the block, and Brittany keeps getting mad because she's stuck to the dumbest person in the house. Shane is not bright. That boy may have a body. He ain't bright. He is not. And all he does is go, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. Yeah, I agree with you. You're 100% right. Next person walks in the door, says something totally different. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we should really do that. Oh my God. Ashley. I don't know. I'm not sure. They just never really tell me anything. I'm just so confused in this house. Then there's the occasional spotting of Jen in the house. But because she wears camouflage shirts that match her arm. You rarely can tell when she's actually on camera, except when she turns her head to the left and you see red. When you see red, that's Jen, because now she wears clothes that match the tattoos on her arms, so she's camouflaged all the time. Then there's little Ian. Ian and Danielle are people who I think are typically not really popular in real life, and suddenly they are. Ian's more adorable, but he's getting into the smack talk now because he thinks he's in the cool crowd. Danielle, I think, is like a 5th grader. I really do. This girl is so emotionally stunted. It's pathetic. And she said on the feeds that Janelle reminds her of all the girls in her sorority who were so cruel to her. And that nails it on the head right there. Janelle must pay for the sins of people who came before her and did awful things to Danielle. Really, that's what it nails down to. Brittany told so many lies about Janelle to Danielle. She poisoned Danielle's mind, and it doesn't matter what Janelle does, it's going to be wrong. And Janelle has become this, sorority, you picked on me once thing kind of person. Now, Janelle's biggest mistake in the game, in my opinion. Boogie franked Janelle the night after Willie, or the night Willie got evicted and JoJo was on the block, wanted more drama. Big mistake, and it came back to bite her in a big way. Here's what happened. Boogie, Frank, Janelle want more drama. They think Joe's going to go off. They think JoJo's going to go off. They're having fun, but it's kind of malicious. And Janelle tells them about what JoJo said in the bathtub about Danielle. Now, mind you, Boogie hates Danielle, or did until yesterday. And they say, oh, you should tell Danielle and then go down and confront JoJo. It was, A, not nice of Janelle to do, B, a big mistake, because Danielle is a big talker in private and a coward in public, and she's a perfect match for Brittany. So Janelle telling, it was the truth. She told her the truth, but she did it for bad reasons, to get JoJo in trouble. Danielle did not bite it. Danielle was so hurt by it. And then everybody told her Janelle just made all that stuff about JoJo up. Janelle didn't make it up, but she should have never said it to Danielle for the reason she said it, and it came back to get her in the end, because it was just one thing that they could say she was lying about. She wasn't lying about it, but she didn't do it for the right reasons. She did it for totally bad reasons, and it screwed her in the end. All right, what's going to happen next week? Who knows? It's insane. A Joe HOH would be freaking funny at this point. I mean, really hilarious. And at this point, I kind of want the coaches out. I love vets. I think they're intelligent, except they all bought the delusions of one. Brittany should have never been a coach. Whoever decided that was an idiot. And Brittany has, to me, in my mind, Brittany has ruined the games of at least 8 people. Let's go over it. Willie, she ruined his game. He's responsible for his actions, but she's the one that sent him over the cliff. Janelle, she ruined Janelle's game. Then there's Danielle and Dan. You think Dan is going to make it much further? No way, not unless they stay in power from here until the end. Danielle's crazy. Dan is going to be super exposed, because once one coach falls, the others are going to. Then there is Will, who believed Brittany's lies and went against his coach. Ashley, who believed Brittany's lies and went against her coach. Joe, who didn't believe Brittany's lies, but he's good at seeing what's going on in the house, but then when he's bad at handling it. He knows what's going on, but the way he tries to out it is a disaster. And Brittany's game. So I think Brittany's lies and paranoia have pretty much ruined a lot of people's games. It would have been a far better season without her in it. All right, that's my ramblings for today. Bye.